Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Jitka Lom from ExpressCare is here, and we are talking about injuries of the feet today. Doctor, thank you for joining me as always.
Thank you.
Okay, it's interesting how we talk about the feet because as humans, the feet, I would say, there's that phrase, having a tender foot, and your feet have very, very soft tissue on the bottom and are very prone to, cuts, scrapes, getting poked, like things like that. So why are our feet not more of a natural defense? I mean, it's basically the same dermis all over our body.
Yeah, it is, but it depends what you're wearing on your feet. People that live in the islands and don't wear shoes most of the time, they get very thick, calloused feet. They're not as sensitive. Whereas people that wear shoes all the time, they will have a tender foot. It's hard for them to walk on the beach. So this is something that can be changed over time. You can desensitize your foot. Of course, people with diabetes lose sensation to their feet because of the nerve damage. Basically, the sugar, the high level of blood sugar destroys the nerve endings that go to the ends of the fingertips and the toes. And of course, then you can suffer a lot of injuries without really knowing it.
And it's also very, very critical for people that are suffering from diabetes. They say, always check your feet. If you even have the slightest sort of cut or anything like that, report it to your doctor as soon as you can. Yeah. Okay, so what are some of the more common foot injury ailments? Is that correct? Yeah. What are some of the more common ones you see here on the island when people come into ExpressCare?
Well, oftentimes, the feet are exposed, so they'll stub their toe or break their toe, and people often wonder what to do with a broken toe, whether they need an x-ray or not. And basically, if you can walk on your foot and without limping too much, an x-ray may not be that helpful. You may wait a little bit, a week or two, to see if it settles down, if the bruising goes away, and just ice and try not to walk too much. See if it settles down, because there isn't a whole lot we can do for broken toes. The small ones, the big toe might require something, but those little toes, what you can do is buddy tape them. Just take a little piece of paper tape and sort of tape it to its neighbor, so there's a little splint there for it, ice it, and just try to stay off it. You could take a little Motrin to settle it down.
That's what we always did when playing basketball, volleyball, football, whatever. You take, like, if you jammed your pinky or anything like that, tape it to the next one, isolate it, right?
Yep.
Keep it straight?
Yeah, keep it straight, or just keep it kind of quiet.
And anybody, if you have never understood or appreciated the value of how much balance your pinky toe provides to you and everything like that, wait till you stub it and watch how you almost like literally fall around, because it's interesting how that little tiny bit of flesh and bone and nail really provides like proper balance to you.
Yeah, well, it's like an anchor. So when you step down, you sort of step down on your heel, then you roll on the side of your foot and then up to your toe, your big toe. So when the little baby toe isn't there to handle it, it's hard.
Now, one thing I'm assuming that you've seen a lot of too is because here, we love to go to the beach, or we love to, some people still go boonie stomping. People do that in, flip-flops or zords. Even some people do that, barefoot.
Yep.
Yeah. So when they're running over maybe sword grass, actual broken glass, slivers maybe of wood and everything like that.
Yeah.
What are the damages of those types of foreign bodies going into the foot?
Well, lots of the time the foot can just handle it, but sometimes you'll get something embedded, especially a piece of glass or coral embedded in the foot, and then people aren't sure what to do, whether they should go digging at it. I hear that a lot. They'll start digging at it with a needle. Please do not dig at your foot. Just soak your foot in warm water with Epsom salts. Epsom salts are have magnesium in them. This softens the foot, but if you don't have that, regular salty water, just soak the foot, and by doing that, some of the blood might come out, and then the tissue might basically open up enough to allow the foreign body out. But if you think that there's still something stuck in your foot, it's really quite important to get an x-ray to see if where it is and how big it is. I'll never forget the time that somebody came in saying, oh, it was nothing that I stepped on, and when we did the x-ray, there was a needle about that big in her foot. And
a hypodermic needle?
No, a sewing needle.
Ew.
Yeah, which she had stepped on, and she really thought it was very minor, because the puncture is very tiny. And glass can be seen on an x-ray. It's solid, so if you think you've stepped on broken glass, you should have an x-ray of your foot too. And then oftentimes if people have cuts on their feet, they've been outside barefoot, they'll come in, and I have to tell them, please don't walk around with open-toed shoes when you've got a foot injury, because a lot of germs and so on will get into your cut. So you should wash your foot, put a Band-Aid on it, put a sock on it, and hopefully a more solid shoe, at least a Croc or something, so that you don't get an infection. We see people like that all the time. They're bleeding all over their zoris and all over the floor, and it's unfortunate.
So take care of your feet when you go out, especially if you go boonie stomping. Now that's interesting because conversely, our friends in the military, and this is a well-known fact, is when they're out on field training exercises or working out in the field for days on end, they will be told, change your socks regularly because you don't want to develop something called swamp foot or immersion foot or something like that. Or trench foot. Or trench foot, yeah. How does that work?
Yeah, what that is it's basically a problem of excessive moisture of the foot and swelling and poor circulation. The foot swells a little bit, there's bad circulation, more swelling, and it gets prone to infection, and you know, it can be really horrible, including leading to amputation if it's bad enough. But that's not something that most people here are going to experience.
In the Civil War days, that happened a lot.
It did happen, but it was cold and damp, and that was a little bit different. But another thing that you need to be aware of if you're out there boonie stopping is that you can get leptospirosis, you know, from getting cuts on your body, and that is a bacterial disease which comes from mouse droppings and so on that are out there in the water. And so if you're stomping through the water and then a few days later you get a fever or like a flu-like illness, if you've been out there, you really need to get seen, because that one can turn into kidney failure and even, you know, death if it's bad enough.
All right, well, in summary, you want to wear proper foot gear, protect your feet, but also change your socks because you don't want sweaty moisture and stuff like that. All right, well, when we come back, we are talking more about the feet. We're going to be talking about bunions and corns, and not the kind that you put butter on and, you know, like you pop and everything like that. These ones are real serious. It can be really gross, so stay tuned for that.